what's missing curfew. It's when you kind of play guilty, but you show up.
How nice is a green light on the road, though? No practice tomorrow, no plane, just go.
Scotty Upshaw in the clear, and he scores! Right in front, scores!
A few laughs, a little bit of fun, and obviously a lot of hockey talk.
You're listening to Missin Curfew.
The lads.
Fella
Friday, my
Fella Friday.
Here at the DraftKings Sportsbook in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Super Bowl Fella Friday. Listen, it's been a great week here. Been a long week for the boys.
Yeah.
Been
I
a
feel
good
great.
week, though.
I'm ready to rock.
I mean, it's Fella Friday. There's only one place we couldn't make it on this Fella tour was to Vegas for this, unfortunately, for the Super Bowl.
Oh, who knows? We got to keep our Saturday, Sunday open.
Maybe
You never know.
You never know.
Never know.
You never know if we can get there.
If only the week of the Toronto All-Star Game NHL into the Waste Management Open, keeping our Saturday, Sunday open for what could be the first ever major bash, Super Bowl bash in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Yeah, let's talk about that. What do you think? I mean, so if you're one of the players, obviously now, you know, if you're going to go out, you went out earlier in the week, right? You probably don't go out at all. Not even, maybe we would have went out early in the week.
No, I bet you.
Super Bowl week, you keep it pretty.
Last week when they landed the bird, I bet you
they got their
the Rhino was packed.
They landed their Sunday.
The Rhino was packed.
Right to the Rhino?
100%.
And then you do all your media stuff Monday, Tuesday, and then you kind of get into the game. But I'm telling you, there's going to be some shakers in Vegas that are going to be unbelievable, right? And expensive. You want to talk about dust off your Amex? Can you imagine some of these clubs? What do you think a table's going for at, like, excess? Crazy.
Oh, a minimum 15, 20K.
At least for a bad table, I bet.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, 100%. I mean, it was probably different than F1.
Yeah.
You were at F1. It was a shit show. The only thing that's going to be a little easier is that there's not going to be a racetrack throughout the whole city.
Yeah.
But, you know, let's just talk Super Bowl. I mean, these guys have been there all week, fired up. You know, not only the players, but the fans and the spectacles and the Bruno Mars of the world and the fucking, you know, the Swifties and whatever. We get into that. But this place is, it's the mecca for entertainment. And now the NFL, which is arguably the biggest sporting event of our country and maybe the world, is now upon what's going to be Sin City's, you know, ultimate weekend.
Yeah, and we know we got a taste of it last weekend up in Toronto, the media there. The media I've noticed in Vegas this week, and the boys, they did it earlier in the week at Radio Row, but like the media attention that these guys are getting right now, like talk about the distractions. You've got to be just like, if you're Andy Reid and Kyle Shanahan, like, boys, somehow stay focused. It's got to be, with social media and everything coming at them, it's got to be tough. I can't imagine. It's got to be tough.
You know what I found quite amusing earlier in the week was, you know, they basically had like a Hunger Games set up with a guy basically interviewing Patty Mahomes and Brock Purdy, right? And they're both up on stage. You got the Lombardi Trophy. You got the Lombardi Trophy right there, and they're interviewing both guys on, like, you know, did you see this? Yeah, it was awesome. And I'm like, this is what, you know, people want to see this. People want to see these two quarterbacks who are chasing their dream. Obviously, Patty Mahomes already won a couple. Brock Purdy he's still making $750,000. You know, shit, we're almost making that much. But this guy, you know, this guy's on the pedestal of sports right now, and the way that they showcase these guys is it's awesome. They put the players on a platform and a stage this week, and it's all week. But you know, you talk about trying to get off focus. You know, these guys are in Vegas. It's okay. You Minnesota a couple years ago with the, you know, when the Eagles won. Easy to stay on focus.
A lot of distractions.
Now it's distractions. You know, are they calling it? You know, you get anything over?
Yeah.
What do you?
And I think the Niners have been there. They've been to one a couple years ago and lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think they're probably there with obviously some unfinished business. And if you're the Chiefs, they've had so many distractions around this year with the Taylor Swift, the Kelsey thing. If there's two teams that aren't going to get distracted, it's probably these two teams. Like, if the Ravens would have made it, I don't know if that team would have been a little bit easier to go out and have a good time. Because they seem more of like a hardcore, let's have some good time.
They don't come home for curfew, those boys.
Yeah. Speaking of Patty Mahomes, I mean, there's been memes all week of his voice and Kenny Powers. He sounds like Kenny Powers a lot.
Does he ever?
And then they asked him about Kermit the Frog. He had a cool answer. He's like, just anytime I talk, it's my best Kermit the Frog impression. But, dude, there was a picture that surfaced. I mean, you're still ripped up pretty good. But his bod, and you look at him, you can tell he's got a little, you can tell he's not going to be in the GQ, you know, ripped up cover, but he's got a pretty good boiler on him. But he's a very flexible guy. But I was nice to see a guy with a little soft around the stomach being the best player in the NFL.
Yeah, when the way he plays, like he runs, he can escape the pocket well. He's got a great arm. His vision is incredible. But you watch him after a long play, he goes and gives it the old straight back. He's like, he walks around like he's got a pole up his butt. Like he's, at times that body is probably not at its peak performance when he's, long in games. And will we see that play a factor later in his career? Maybe, right? Like Tom Brady had the same chub when he played, but then figured as I get older, like there's no way I'm going to stop eating strawberries. I'm going to be more of a vegan. I'm going to eat clean, this and that. And it worked. And it worked.
It's nice to see the best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, have a little chub.
Yeah, I avoid Patty Mahomes. I love you even more. Updog, we're in the DraftKings Sportsbook here at TPG Scottsdale. Let's get some picks going. Listen, I'm not going against the Chiefs again. I learned my lesson. All the fellas know I listen. I had my futures Ravens Niners Super Bowl bet. They screwed that up. I got the Chiefs last week at +2 when I was having lunch with you. I put them in. I'm also going to take the Chiefs money line. I'm taking the Chiefs money line. And then a little prop bet I like for you fellas out there. Patty Mahomes over 26.5 yards rushing. You just got to think he's going to have those two big explosive runs. Right, he's only going to run it a few times, but you know how he always makes that, great 15, 16, 17-yard run to get a first down. He's going to do that a couple times, maybe 3 times. I like the over 26.5 rushing yards for Patty Mahomes. Chiefs money line, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. She's going to be on the field with all the confetti. I'm taking the Chiefs, baby. Chiefs Kingdom.
I'm interested to see what kind of Taylor Swift prop bets are out there.
I can only imagine.
But listen, for me, I'm going to go up. We're going to bet a bottle of Camus on this. I'm going to take the Niners only because Christian McCaffrey, I traded for him mid-season.
What a trade.
He helped me get to the fantasy finals where I lost to Larry Bettman by .02. I had Brandon Ayuk. I love the way that the Chiefs have just, they were the best team in the league to start off. Then they had a little low. They lose to the Browns. Then they step back up. Everyone questions Purdy. He steps up. He has an incredible championship game. Now, can they get over the hump? George Kittle, is he going to have a big game? I'm expecting Deebo Samuel, anytime TD score +135. That's easy money to me. And I'm going to take them at +2. Like the line opened at +2.5 for the Chiefs, and the line went all the way down immediately in the first couple hours.
-2.
Yeah, the Niners were it started 2.5.
Yeah,
right out of the gate it comes down to 1. Right, so everyone
hammered the other way.
Everyone hammered the other way, and now she's relatively been there all week at the 2 mark. So I'm going to take you, bottle of Camus. If we put her on there, I'm going to take the Niners. I'm giving you 2 points. Let's go Niners. Let's go McCaffrey. Let's go, baby.
Can you get up real quick? Can you get the MVP odds up there? Who's going to win MVP?
Super Bowl MVP. Okay, Patty Mahomes +125.
What's Brock Purdy?
Brock Purdy +225.
McCaffrey
+475. Travis Kelce +1,200. That's not a bad bet.
That's not a bad bet either.
Debo +2,000.
I think Brock Purdy's got to play well for them to win, obviously, but I think if they're going to beat him, I think McCaffrey's going to have like 3 touchdowns or something stupid and win the MVP.
Yeah, you're right. No, if McCaffrey goes for 180 yards and 3 TDs, he arguably is the reason why they win that game.
Yeah.
Right?
Do they have the over-under for the national anthem on length, or no? Is that not up there yet?
No, they do. They have it all. Novelty props. Coin toss, winner of the outcome.
Heads. I'm going heads.
Combined jersey numbers. Super
Sports
Bowl
Gatorade. Do you have the color of the Gatorade?
Let's see.
Such a sick app, eh?
It's an incredible app.
See what you did? They got it all.
You know what? Well,
listen, that's no. That was. I like when you can bet on the color of the Gatorade. It's typically orange. Right?
Well, our next guest, we'll ask him.
Typically
He's the one. I wonder how many colors there actually is a Gatorade. What is there? 5? Orange, yellow,
lemon,
green,
lime,
blue, red.
Yeah.
And I feel like purple's up there as like a higher one. Yellow.
Yeah.
Like how many different colors does a team have?
I mean, listen.
I'm curious.
We never won a Stanley Cup, and when you win, you wouldn't care where you're going to be. But imagine winning it in Vegas.
It would be incredible.
Oh my God.
I mean, you end up in Vegas.
Yeah,
to be honest, all the teams end up there,
and
you win it
right there.
I wonder who's got the rights to where the boys are going after they win.
Right. I mean, you got to think Kelsey's got something lined up.
No, but what? I bet you it could be like the Win. The Win said, "Listen, boys, We'll pay you $1 million. You guys come in. The winning team, $1 million, come in and share your winning night here at our hotel. Be great. I wonder.
It's going to be a great Super Bowl. I got the Chiefs. Updog's got the Niners. Couple prop bets. Check it out, fellas. We'll be right back here at Missin Curfew.
Big fella, time to talk about Lucy.
Updog, Lucy is up in the nicotine pouch game with breakers. Pouches packing a little something extra inside.
The geniuses at Lucy Obes came up with a brilliant way to fix both those problems. They put a mini liquid capsule inside each breaker's pouch. Nobody's doing anything like it except for Lucy. It's a new kind of pouch technology, and it's only available at Lucy.
Break up your dusty gas station pouches and go to lucy.co/curfew and use promo code
Curfew
to get 20% off your first order. Lucy offers free shipping and has a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. That's lucy.co and use code
Curfew
to get 20% off and always free shipping.
Without further ado, here comes the fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Welcome back to Mr. Curfew. Updog, my man. Top Titty's back. We didn't
back
have
this
it because of the All-Star game last week. Listen, I took Matty Barzell in the skills. You took McCarr. They both had good showings.
Yeah, I finished second.
I mean, Barzell was...
We got McDavided.
Yeah, we should have known.
I know, but I mean, the odds were there. The odds. I took a defenseman to win the skills competition. When would that? In what decade would you ever have thought a D-man has a chance to win the NHL overall skills comp? That's incredible. Maybe back when Bobby Orr was a player, right?
Yeah,
but I had
that's
my faith
exactly what it would have been.
I had my faith in Cale Makar. He gave it a great effort, but let's be honest. Connor McDavid is the best hockey player in the world, and he showcased that with his speed, his skill, even his shooting, his passing accuracy. The whole thing. I mean, he's a dynamic player, and he proved it once again to the world.
Yeah. Listen, I'll tell you what, McCarr leaned on 102 mile an hour clapper, so he's got it. And I never thought of him having a bomb like that because he's always just does that nice little twisted wrister.
Yeah.
But Top Titty's back. Check it out. $1,000 American up for grabs. First place gets a buttery t-shirt and a fucking juicy Missin Curfew lid. Take on me and the Updog, Princey, Maxie, and HallPass Media. And obviously the Captain Brento will be in there. That brings us to the Saturday night, lock of the night, DraftKings, baby.
Presented by DraftKings Fantasy Sports. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with code
Curfew Kings.
Because life's more beautiful and fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details.
DraftKings, baby. Updog is 8-2. I had a tough one a couple weeks ago. I'm 8-4. Combined, we're 16-6. We are making the fellas money still. The Updog is on a heater. Listen, I love everything that Patty Waugh has done since he's been in Long Island. His interview after the Leafs game a couple days ago was you could be a duck or a hawk. He said, Bo Horvat. I better be careful chirping Bo Horvat too, because Patty Waugh likes him.
Yeah, he's got him.
And I don't need Patty Waugh coming at me because this guy, he's kind of scary, eh?
Yeah, he's
right. He's not kind of scary.
I think so. Look at the way he played.
Yeah, he's like, you can either be a duck or a hawk. And tonight he was a hawk.
Talents.
Hawks that just prowl over you and come out and attack.
Did you see
Ducks
that?
are just
Did you see the video I sent you the other day of the guy bringing the hawk,
the
bringing
deer,
the goat, right?
The goat.
Huge. I mean, it was nuts.
Yeah, you're like, this is you leading the fella tour, which, by the way, you're not far off, fella. So I love the hiring, and this is going to make me feel even better because Princey's sitting right here on the fella tour. I'm taking the New York Islanders and Patty Waugh against the Calgary Flames. Sorry, Weegsy, baby. Look out for the Islanders in the second half. I think Patty's going to get them going. That's my lock of the night.
I'm taking the Seattle Kraken in Philadelphia on the road. Listen, Philly, I know they've just...
No, I know.
I'm watching the downfall of the Flyers right now. I don't have a reason for it, but my Seattle Kraken, they're coming back. My boy Schwartzy's coming back from Costa Rica. These boys on a Saturday night, lock of the week. Expect them to do some thumping in Philly town.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Philly plays out, right? Because, we both been on teams like this. I remember my first year in Colorado where we were kind of like Philly. We were picked to finish, bottom of the league, bottom 5 of the league. We got off to a great start. We got to the All-Star break. We're still in the playoff spots. I remember Loops texted me, like, you think you got the horses to get in here? And I was like, I don't know. Then we made a couple trades at the deadline, brought in Steve Downey, Jamie McGinn, which helped us, but we couldn't get there. So I'm interested to see if they can hang on here and continue to keep this momentum, because they played so good, and we want to see them get in. But this is going to really show these last 40 games, right? This is where, if you don't have the depth or the skill, maybe, where you can kind of get, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, and I mean, listen, all year they've been the surprise team, and every year there is. Last year you can consider Seattle Kraken a team that surprised everybody but kept going. Now, Philadelphia Flyers are, they're kind of in the spot where it's like, are you playing now the style of hockey that everyone expected? Or who is going to help you get over the hump? Like, goalie situation, power play. You're going to have to score goals, and a lot of goals down the stretch, because games get tight down the stretch. And we're midway through the season. They're in a good spot, but I'm expecting a little downfall in the Flyers, and I'm expecting Seattle to come out and get them.
Another team I'm interested in is Jack Hughes, your boy Jack Hughes and the New Jersey Devils. Jack's been hurt twice now.
And if he gets healthy,
he's got to stay healthy.
Yeah.
He's got to stay healthy. But you got to
they need some goaltending. I mean, their goaltending has been atrocious.
Awful. But you got to think, if he can stay healthy, that they're going to find a way to get in there.
Yeah.
And once they get in, they can do some damage. We'll be right back here at Missin Curfew. Welcome back to Missin Curfew. Up Dog, Fellow Tours, Super Bowl week continues. Who we got here, bud?
I would like to introduce an extraordinary gentleman here with DraftKings, the sports book and the new race sports book that DraftKings has. The operations manager, Johnny Avello. Thanks for joining the boys in Missin Curfew. How has this week been for you? A busy week.
Yeah, Scotty, Shane, good to see you guys.
Yeah.
It has been a busy week, so it's actually been a busy 2 weeks. And every day seems to just keep escalating, and getting busier, and that's the way it's going to be. That's the way this golf tournament is, and my week goes as this golf tournament goes. More people, more action, more business, and then finally,
and then for the last hurrah, the Super Bowl. But bring our listeners into a little bit about your role here at at DraftKings, and just maybe the growth of the company. You guys opened up a race book, horse racing book last year. But just maybe dive into a little bit about your role and where the company's gone the last couple of years.
Yeah, let's go back, I guess, to 2018 when PASPA was overturned. One of the owners of DraftKings, Matt Kalish, asked me if I wanted to come on board with DraftKings. He convinced me to come on. I just like the space of being able to book games in multiple states, except, without Las Vegas being the only one, and that's where I've resided there for 45 years, been in the sportsbook business 37 years. So it was exciting for me. And so we were only in one state at the time. That was New Jersey. And we had a lot of work to do. We had a couple of traders, but we were using some outside influences to help us make the odds. And he wanted me to put a trading team together, and that's what I did. And now that trading team is 50-plus guys, and some are here in the U.S., and some are in London, and some are around the world. So that's why you see all the offerings that we have on our app. We're able to do that because we have so many guys working on so many different projects. But we've come a long way. We continue to, I think, put up the best content, and our customers are very grateful for it.
So are you making the lines, you and this group of 50 people, you're making all the lines that come out for DraftKings on a daily basis?
Yeah, everything comes out of our office.
So are you checking the ones right away in like as I'm saying, are you seeing what's going on in Vegas before you put yours out? Or you guys, no, you're just doing your thing and don't even worry about it.
We are, and I don't want to boast, but I'll boast.
Yeah,
we are we are the market makers.
Yes.
We actually put these props up, all these lines you see for NFL, college football. We are the first to go up, and the others will follow.
Yeah. Well, the prop bets, I mean, me and Up, we talk about all the time when we're in the States that we can use the app. The prop bets, especially for hockey, shots on goals, anytime points, stuff like that. I mean, when it comes to DraftKings, there's nothing better than that. You can't beat it.
No.
It's the
best. Not everybody just wants to bet pregame, A versus B. Sometimes you don't like the line in that game, so we wait until the game starts, and then maybe the team we wanted to bet and we didn't like the price, now I get a plus price because the other team scored first. So there are things that you may – now, if that doesn't happen and you don't get a good price, you pass for the night. You know,
It's hard to pass though when you got your trigger happy. Your fingers just ready to trigger. You're trigger happy.
That is true.
So I bet a lot of hockey. I'm watching hockey games every night, so I got a bet to watch some nights because some of the games are not interesting.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. But some of the lines, I'll see like a minus 280, and I'm like, well, both teams have sticks here. So I was like, sometimes in hockey, I feel like they're like the lines are really big. Is that normal? Like a lot of minus 280s, a lot of minus. I mean, I bet some that are minus 400. Now that was the best team against a really bad team. But do you notice in hockey that because there's no spread, so to speak, I know you get the puck line, but that's how you got to keep it fair, right? With that big.
You take the Knights at home, say they're playing Phoenix, who's not a bad club, know, and they come in and, they have beat the Knights. I remember that game, they beat them 1-0 back about a month ago. They're 280 in that game. So if you want to bet that type of a team where you have to lay to 280, you have to have the guts, first of all, to put up 280 to win 100.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys like to bet lay to puck and a half, right?
Yeah.
And then either get even money or even maybe a plus. But we all know have many games for one.
So that puck line stung me so much, man. It stung me so.
So let me ask you, let's stay on hockey for a second. A lot of our listeners are hockey-based listeners. They also love football and baseball and all that stuff. But for hockey, how much of your team, considering a line on any given night, because you guys have lines for all games, how many know the things, the intangibles in and around the game of hockey and in and around the game of pro sports that go into like winning a hockey game? Like whether it's, is the team banged up, or did a guy, get divorced? Did they have a rookie party? Did they have a rookie party 2 nights ago? But like, does your team, do they assemble like some internal data to build these lines like that?
Well, as far as the data is concerned, yes. We have algorithms that help us out, but we do have all the information. As far as who broke up with their girlfriend, that's the kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff I'd like to know.
Yeah, that's what the bettors want to know. Yeah, exactly.
That's the important stuff. Sometimes is the emotional aspect of it, and sometimes we might get something like that on Twitter, but for the most part, those intangibles are tough to run by.
I'll tell you what, if you could keep your eye open for the rest of this year, probably next year, because a lot of these are over, but the father or mother trips they have, or like when they bring their mom and dad on the road, I would like to know. I don't have the data. I'm not an analytics guy, but from my eye test, a lot of times these guys bring their mom and dads
and they win.
They win because they're playing in front of their parents, right? They bring the energy. The games I've watched this year, because I've got stung on a couple of them where a team goes in, Ottawa Senators, for example, they got their fathers on the trip. They go in and win a game when they were probably plus 220 that night.
Yeah. Brings me to Shane to the in-game wagering.
Yeah.
So you don't know that's happening, so you wait, and then the game starts, and you say, there they are.
I know.
I don't
do.
Yeah.
That's my biggest thing. I don't do enough in-game wagering.
You know what's another incredible stat that a good friend of mine, I could call him a hockey handicapper. This guy, he's up in Vancouver. Won't give him away, but he said, watch coaching changes.
Won't give your name, Jim, but that's
but a coaching change, right?
Yeah,
and this has happened a lot this year. I think he's fucking pinged five off in a row. Anytime a coaching change, the last one was Patrick Waugh going to the New York Islanders. They came back late in the game and won, but that was to his effect. The St. Louis Blues did it earlier in the season, but a new coaching change is a win the next day.
There's a couple of angles you can look at, and they're temporary. And I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
Coaching change sometimes, and maybe a key player out for a game, that may work for one game, maybe two.
Yeah.
Because the team knows that we have to, got to change here now, so we're emotionally high, or we're missing one of our better players. We need to pick it up a bit. So that doesn't always work for the whole season, but it could be temporary and might get you that win.
So is this bittersweet for you being Super Bowl week, that's the last game of the year, or is this, you could take a little breather now because the football season's over? I guess my question is, besides football, which is the number one thing I'm pretty sure that people bet on, what's next? Well, now that the Super Bowl's over. March Madness.
Are you kidding, Shane? The only thing that's going to change is the shape of the ball. We're moving forward here. We got some big events coming up.
Madness.
Shape of the ball, right? The little one out here tonight. And then, what I do like about this tournament is this does kick off the golf season. After this, we're just a major.
But obviously the NFL is the biggest one, right? Football
is both college and pro. Remember on Saturday we have 75 games going. So both you take the Saturday and Sunday combined, they are big days.
Yeah. When it comes to golf, a lot of these top 10 bets I find are good, right? You get a guy like the number one player in the world. He's always in the top 10. Max Homa, John Rahm. I know he's on LIV now, but he was a top 10 making machine.
Yep.
Is that like a bet you would think it kind of hits a lot of times with these top 10 guys, the top players in the world?
No, a lot of people do make that bet. That way you don't have to win the whole tournament. You just need to finish in those top 10 spots. Yeah. I think that's a good bet. Now, that doesn't always work out, but Scotty Scheffler, he seems to be always in that top 10. Yeah. Interesting number we have up on Scotty Scheffler is to lead the tournament after the first round. He's 16-1. But he's 9-2 to win a whole tournament. Yeah. So that just shows you the kind of player he is. He's not the kind of guy that jumps out to the lead. He's a racehorse, kind of settles back a little bit. Then
warm up.
Kind of big.
Well, it's funny you said that because the odds for him to lead after the first round and then win the tournament outright is 2,500. It's plus 2,500, which for him to win the tournament outright, it's it's much less.
Much less.
So it's just it's tendencies and it's all that stuff. It's him on Wednesday night, maybe hitting the bird's nest, and then he fine-tunes it till the weekend.
Yeah, I don't think he's a bird's nest guy. I saw him in the Bahamas chipping on a Wednesday. I'm like, buddy, you're getting paid either way. Go have some fun. I was like, this guy's working on a short game at Tigers tournament. I'm like, that's why he's number one in the world.
Well, Johnny, let's talk about Super Bowl, right? And that's it's a big weekend. We have Johnny Elway as a podcast guest this week. We had him on earlier, and he's an incredible guest. What a guy! What a human being! But it's nice to have you here. Let's talk a little bit about maybe some fun prop bets that DraftKings has on their apps. Maybe in and around the Swiftie fans out there. Not that probably any of our listeners are Swiftie fans.
I'm coming around on the Swiftie, but I didn't like it all.
But what do we got? What do we got? What's the team sitting back going? How do we make this fun for our fans for this weekend's game?
Well, first of all, I want to thank Taylor Swift for becoming a Chiefs fan and dating the tight end. That's what the song's going to be, Right. It's going to be something like that. I left my heart in Kansas City, but he's got a nice tight end or something. That's the song. Yeah, that's the song that's coming.
You've heard it here.
But I want to thank her because she has brought fans to the NFL.
Absolutely.
And she has brought fans to DraftKings and we capitalize on that.
Yeah.
If there's something happening out there that we think's interesting, we'll build props around it, and that's what we've done. We've taken Taylor Swift's songs, rather songs or album titles, and then we've correlated props around those songs.
Let's hear a couple. What do we got? Let's see a couple. What do we got?
Okay, Shake It Off. We all know that song, don't we?
I don't know, Taylor. I'm sorry, I'm not a Swiftie. I like to have a bank account, but I don't know.
Don't jump in his car on a Friday. He'd be playing it on the way to the golf.
Shake It Off, Shake It Off.
Shake It Off. I don't know. If I hear it, I would know it.
Okay, so Shake It Off, what that is that 49ers score the first touchdown.
Okay.
But the Chiefs come back to win.
Nice.
Okay, what's that line? Do we get a line on that? Is that
let's see if I can find that.
Okay, I like
off. Shake It Off. That is.
There's a lot of big numbers here, though.
Yeah, these are all. These are
fun though.
These are all the Taylor Swift props.
Plus 2,000, I see.
That one is, I think, plus 350.
Plus 350, because that could happen.
That could definitely happen. The Gold Rush. That's one of her songs.
Yeah.
That's the 49ers to score 40 or more points.
What's the Deja Vu one you're talking about?
Oh, Deja Vu. That's Deja Vu. Kansas City to win by exactly 11 points. Now, you get that, right?
Yeah.
Because 3 years ago, Kansas City won this game by exactly 11 points. So
got to be some high.
What is that one? Plus what? That's got to be.
That one is 30-1.
Yeah.
Plus 3,000.
There you go. There you go.
We could do a lot of things with a little 30-1.
I could use a 30-1 hit, boys. I could use a 30-1 hit.
No, that's great. And I mean, the big reason we've obviously been part of the DraftKings family for 4+ years now, and the app is on fire. And you're a big reason for that. Yeah. Maybe just talk about the difference between our platform and all the competitors out there. And everyone's chasing for the client, but I believe that DraftKings has the best thing. We're now building these beautiful, sports books. We're sitting in the one here in Scottsdale. But, what separates that competition for DraftKings?
We're different. And the reason we're different and better is because if you look at, first of all, our app, it's very easy to navigate. We built that app ourselves. And I know you guys have seen some of the other apps that are out there. Sometimes you're looking around, you can't find, where is the first quarter? And in our app, it's very simple. You go to NFL, and there's headers across the top with all the quarters, so you can get to it easy. So that's number one. Number two is content. I don't think anybody puts up more betting interest than we put up.
I agree.
And customer service, in my opinion, is fantastic. We got a team of guys. I'm sure you met some of them, the VIP guys. They take care of all our customers. They're excellent at what they do. And we build these marvelous sports books. This one and the one in Wrigley that we built, two of the nicest sports books you'll ever be in. Yeah. They actually rivaled some of the Vegas books. Yeah, no, this place is beautiful. The one we went to in Troy, Michigan was nice too. The other thing you guys came up with is good. We're good for the company. These same game parlays, we give out about 2 a week. I think we've hit 2 all year. So that's all you need us to. Yeah, we're good for the company, but those are fun. The same game parlays are fun. And like I said, all the prop bets you guys have for hockey, especially shots on goal, stuff like that, that's what I think separates DraftKings as well. Thank you very much. Really appreciate the plug. Thank you so much for having us on. Continue up the good work. Keep those lines fair, eh? Because we're out there betting. Keep those lines fair. We fair. Just fair. Yeah, hey, look, all we have going to us, people think that odds makers are actually, they can pick games. We're not, we don't have crystal balls. No. What we have going for us is a little bit of juice that we hold. So that's all. We just hold a little bit of juice on every bet. Yeah. If you lose, if you win, we don't hold anything. Yeah. No. That's why the sports book's here. That's right.
So, without giving it away, do you have a favorite for the weekend?
Yeah, who you like?
That's how, we're not
allowed to tell, or
look into the crystal ball.
I love Taylor Swift this weekend.
All right, there we go.
So does Travis Kelce. Thanks a lot. That was fun.
Johnny, thanks for having us.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
You betcha. Thank you.
Super Bowl week up, dog. You pulled an absolute legend, a guy with a gold jacket, an absolute beauty. We got John Elway coming at the boys. Just talk about how this all came together, because this was such a good get for Super Bowl week. 2 times.
He's a legend. He's a GOAT, and he's you can probably count 5 quarterbacks on your hand who in their era really owned the game and owned the way it was played and played with their heart on his sleeve, and he's definitely one of them. He pioneered the tough fucking farm boy type style with a gun. And if you watch any videos of John Elway play in his day, for a lot of our younger listeners out there, you have to, because it was, there's no quarterback out there right now playing like him. Maybe Josh
Allen would be.
Maybe Josh Allen. Throws the ball like him, runs like him, demeanor like him, and maybe like Johnny has almost got to the promised land but hasn't won. It took Johnny a lot of years to get there. Yeah. But right now, listen, I got to meet John Elway at a member guest in Bel Air a couple years ago. Play with him and Massimo, and I had an incredible day with these guys, laughing, telling stories, hanging out, having some beers, and what I learned about John Elway then was that he's a much better guy than he is a football player. Yeah. And if you can even think of that comment, it's incredible, and he's very humble. And then playing with him again last weekend at Madison Club, and asking him, hey, do you mind if you came on the pod? Like, are you doing any podcast stuff? Are you doing any network stuff now that you stepped away from your role with the, with the Broncos, with the Denver Broncos? And he said, I'm thinking about starting a podcast with my buddy, on about like the kind of life topics and politics and stuff. And I said, you should. People would listen. And I had no idea what I was doing when I got into it with my boy Shane O'Brien. But I said, if you got 30 minutes this week with the Super Bowl around the corner, we would love to have you on.
It was a great I just want to touch on one thing before we turn over that.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. For the fellas out there, if you haven't watched Elway to Marino, the ESPN 30 for 30, we touch on it here in this interview a little bit. He changed the draft, man. Yeah. 1983, our birth year. Didn't want to bring that up to him. I didn't want to make him feel old. But before that, the draft wasn't really watched. And he came out and said, I don't want to go play for the Baltimore Colts. And it goes through the whole thing. No social media back then. Just him talking to his agent, Dan Marino, Jim Kelly. So, fellas, if you're out there and you're looking for something to watch on a night where there's not a lot of hockey, I was blown away. I'd seen it previously, but watched it again before John came on. What he did, what he went through, he changed the complexion of the draft forever. So,
what flow, too.
Yeah.
Great hair.
California Dreamboat from Stanford. But Updog, thank you very much for getting him. Like Uppy said, coming from his pad in Madison, 2-time Super Bowl champ, Hall of Famer, John Elway. Welcome back to Missin Curfew, Updog Super Bowl week. And you pulled out an all-time absolute beauty here. 2-time Super Bowl champ, Hall of Famer. I spent some time in the city of Denver. This guy is an absolute legend. I caught a couple nice buzzes at his steakhouse. John Elway, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you taking the time.
My pleasure. Great to be with you guys.
It sure is, and I appreciate you taking the time away from a golf match. I know you got a golf match today. There's no question you don't.
Yeah, I do. Actually, I do. Yeah, because the wind chill over here is about 72 right now, going to 76. And so I think we can handle it.
Well, let's just start right there, Johnny. This past weekend, I was in town. We came into the desert for a childhood friend of mine, Jesse Vanderveer, his birthday party. What a birthday it was. But I got a chance to play golf with you and your boy Moss and VC. Nice little Canada versus the USA. It came down to the wire. But talk about just a little bit about that camaraderie you got there at the Madison Club with the boys.
Well, I mean, and plus there's nothing better than an international match either, right? So good old USA against Canada. And I think the USA ended up ahead on that one, if I remember right. I'm not sure. But
I know
did you get in his pocket, John? Because I can never get in his pocket. Tell me you got in his pocket, please.
I got in his pocket. You know what he did? It's great. I mean, what Discovery does in Madison over here, I've been here at Madison now probably about 9 years. And you know, as you know, up here, there's so many great guys here. And then plus the plantations right across the street. So much great golf down here with great weather. You know, and for me, you know, it gets me up and moving every day. And that's the key thing, you know, getting beat up for so many years, as you know, hockey that you guys did, that the more sedentary you are, the sore you get. And so it's golf is kind of my outlet, my competitive outlet, plus it keeps his body going. So I plan on playing it for a long, long time.
Was it something during your career you used as a tool, like to stay competitive in the off seasons at all? Was golf something you always did, or was it, something you picked up after?
I picked up after, because I was actually a baseball player too. So I played a lot of baseball. So I never had time to play golf. And so I'd never been a member of a club. When I got to Denver, probably my second year in Denver, there was a club right down from my house. And so I went over there and joined. And that was really, you know, we picked up golf clubs in college, but you didn't call it golf back then. It was just out there and a reason why I have some beers and play around, right? So yeah, I got into golf. And then, you know, for me, played for 16 years. So I never played during the season. And, you know, in Denver, you know, I've got 4 kids. And so I couldn't really leave Denver during those younger years. And so it was, you know, I played probably 3 or 4 months a year, you know, starting in April in Denver. It kind of gets nice at times, but April and May are pretty choppy. And then June and July you got until we go to camp. And we used to go to camp back in the middle of July, not the end of July, and actually last a little bit longer. So, you know, I probably played 3 months a year. And then when I retired, had a chance to play a lot more golf in the off season and even in the wintertime, until I went back with the Broncos as a GM, and that shut that down again. But now I'm back on the links, and that's my job. I wouldn't call it my job. It's the best job I've had.
Johnny, I was out in the desert last week, actually. I played Madison Club with Craig Manchester and actually got in his pocket for the first time in a long, long time. But unfortunately, Johnny, I didn't score enough goals to buy anything at Discovery. But besides Madison Club, what are some of your other favorite ones? Because I've been to a few and they're obviously all, but what are some of your favorite?
You know, there's so many of them. You know, I'm at Playa Grande. They got a place down at Playa Grande, which is down the Dominican. I actually have a place up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, where Gozzer Ranch is. But I got up there in 2002. A friend of mine was from Denver, and he developed Black Rock, and had me up there. And so I ended up buying a lot at Black Rock in 2002. And then I think Gozzer came into existence like 2008 or 2009. And then there's just been, and there's such a great membership at Gozzer up there, and it's a 5-minute boat ride from my house. That's what I love when I get up to Coeur d'Alene. Once I get to my house, I go everywhere in my boat except to the supermarket, which I don't go to the supermarket very often, so therefore I never get back in the truck.
Yes. So our boy JJ Dunham, who we love, he hit me up and he's like, if you got Johnny coming on, he's the reason I'm in those Woody boats and I'm blowing out his horn and I'm driving around the lake like I won 2 Super Bowls and MVP'd one. But the one thing about Gozzer is, you know, it's got that athlete aspect to it, right? It feels like you're in a locker room because there is a lot of hockey guys, there's a lot of ex-athletes and current athletes, but that camaraderie is what you can't really build in the off season for, especially for hockey guys. We look for that. So.
Well, no question. And I think it's also, you know, like you said, it's like being back in the locker room, right? That's the thing that we miss the most probably when we retire, is being back in the locker room and flinging a bunch of crap to a bunch of different guys and that type of thing. And, you know, and then, you know, it's great because we have all the tee times between 10 and 10:30, and you just show up and go in and you get to play with everybody. You get to play with a bunch of different guys. And like you said, it's really fun to compete with athletes. It's fun to compete anyway, but athletes have a different level of competition, which to me makes it even more exciting playing golf when you get a chance to play against, because, Gretzky thinks that NFL money is a lot greener than NHL money, and I disagree with that.
That is true. Well, nowadays it is, especially our best player, Connor McDavid. Geez, he's just making pennies to what Patrick Mahomes is making. Yeah, wow.
Oh man, well, yeah, it's amazing. 20 years, how far, and the NFL just continues to get better and better. All the sports continue to get better and better, and more interest in all the sports, and so. But the NFL has just been on a roll, and so
yeah. Well, we all love the lake life, Johnny. I mean, Uppy was on the lake before he moved to California, and me too, kind of. We were more worried about chasing women in Hollywood. We probably should have stayed on the lake. But I got to ask you about the Tree Bar at Gozzer Ranch. That's one of my favorite spots. Shout out to Coach Coop. Every time I go to the Tree Bar, Rest Corner, that's a great spot to talk about a locker room feel. That has a nice locker room feel to it.
That has a definite it's a locker room with a bar in the middle of it.
With a big tree, yeah.
With a bunch of trees. But that's one place that I don't think there's a better bar in America than there is at the Tree Bar. And plus you get up there in Coeur d'Alene and the atmosphere and everything. So yeah, I mean, and Discovery does such a great job. They enlarged it a couple of years ago. And so, you're out sitting outside. Coeur d'Alene's weather's so good during the summertime. So, and then you have great camaraderie like we're talking about that, there's not a better spot.
Yeah, Johnny, before we talk some football with you, last thing, me and Updog, we love the PGA Tour, but we also love what LIV Golf is building with the teams. And you see John Rahm going there, and he's got his own team, and I think he's bringing in Terrell Hatton. Like, as the ultimate team guy and a glue guy like yourself, what's your thoughts on the LIV Tour and how it can grow, and I guess just your overall thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you hate to see that, golf's in a little upheaval right now. So you hate to see that. You would hope that they'd be able to put something together and thought it was heading that way. And then all of a sudden, who knows where it is right now as far as we know. But I think that, I think it's a great opportunity. And it's like, people say, well, the tradition of golf at the PGA Tour and da-da-da-da-da. And I get all that. I'm a traditionalist also, but also it's created a heck of a lot more opportunity for a lot more guys. And I think, that's what our system is, whether you agree with it or not. That's a capitalistic system, and the fact there's competition, and it makes everybody better. That's what competition does. And I think the LIV Tour, has done a very nice job. It's fun to watch, like you said, the team aspect of it. It's like a mini Ryder Cup but you get to see that every week, right? And I think once people understand that more, they'll like it more. And I just hope, I'm really hopeful that they can come together and make golf, what it is. It's still great, but hopefully they can come together and figure out something to where we have what we get to watch each week is the best of the best.
Yeah, we have a buddy, Brendan Steele, a close buddy, lives here in Newport. Yeah, he jumped over with Phil's team last year. And one interesting thing he said to me, which relates to us as team guys, is, on like a Saturday morning or, for them it's a Saturday, I think, because they only play 3 rounds. But he could have the 2 worst rounds of his life and then show up Saturday and still know that, his round here is important for them to, face off in the team match, but for him to, jump on the team bird if the guys win again. And feel some sort of like he still chipped in where you're so lonely in the PGA Tour when you have 2 bad rounds.
Yeah, that was cool, John. He basically said, like, if I go in on a Thursday and I shoot 74, I come there Friday or whatever. I don't really try hard, but I have to try hard on the next round for my team, right? Because my team's still in the mix.
Right. And, and that's the thing to me, and where I feel so fortunate in my career, and I love to play golf. I'm not sure I'd want to have been a PGA professional because there are so many good golfers and they all can play, and it's just a matter of who puts the best each weekend. And I also think, and I've said this all the time too, it's like, if you want a PGA Tour event, who are you celebrating with? Your caddy and your family, right? And I think that's, as a team sport, and I went through 3 Super Bowl losses, which are the ultimate losses. But then when you look at the 2 wins, and I look back at the 2 wins, and what was most exciting about it was the fact that we did it with 53 other guys and the celebration afterwards. And I think that's where the joy really comes, is the fact that everybody has to play well to win championships, no matter what league you're in. The Super Bowl, Stanley Cup, I mean, those things are, people don't realize how hard it is to win those because there's so many great players and so many great teams out there, and be able to put it all together for a full season and get a championship. For me, the best thing was celebrate with your teammates. And that's what, that's what keeps us all going, is just having buddies that you can celebrate with, that you're all on the same page with. So, but I think that, like you said, I think the LIV Tour and putting those teams together, I think is going to be very, very interesting. And it's got to be great for those, for the pros out there, because, the Ryder Cup is we all watch the Ryder Cup and like to watch it. And, but being able to play team golf, I think is a little bit of a change for them, but I think it's great for the game.
Yeah, well said. So let's talk a little football, Johnny. You were a motivator when you played. You're still a motivator because you got my boy fired up. He was texting me last night. He's like, we got John Elway coming, be on your game. So I watched Elway to Marino when it first came out, but I watched it again last night, buddy. It was so cool how your draft changed the draft forever. The draft is what it is because of this. But looking back on it, I just have to think, like, what about social media back then? Do you think it would have helped you or hurted you? Because you were just listening to your agent and reading the newspapers. Like, it must have been. Do you think social media would have helped you back then?
I'm not a big fan of social media. So therefore, it's like, I'm not sure what if I think, especially with the players today, and they get so involved in social media, I think it takes away because, I call social media microphones for morons, because everybody that gets on it, they're the guys that were waiting to get on a sports talk show, and they'd sit there and wait for an hour and a half to say their 2-minute bit on the radio, right? But now they can do it with a touch of a button, and so much of it seems negative, and so, it's hard to say what it would change. But, the great thing about that 30 for 30 was I never knew what was going on with Jim and Danny. I just was really kind of in my world and trying to figure out how I was going to get out of Baltimore. And so, I didn't know. So that's when I watched it. It was very intriguing to me, too, because, with Danny and everything that was going on with Danny Marino and then Jim Kelly and him going to the USFL at the time. So it was great for me to see their stories, because at the time, I had no idea they were going through all that stuff either.
Yeah.
So it was very, very interesting.
That's where I thought maybe social media, maybe it was better he didn't know, but if you had social media, you know exactly what all those guys were doing.
Yeah, or you're listening to a bunch of bullshit from someone like he's saying
some
that just
idiot
wants to
that has
speak.
no idea.
At what point did you hear your agent had that diary just completely dialed in? Was that something that came a little bit later, and like someone hit you from ESPN like, hey, by the way, we got this incredible book by...
Yeah, no, you know what? I didn't know it until I saw the 30 for 30. I didn't know he was keeping track of all those notes from meetings, which was why, Marvin Demoff is my agent, and why we were very, very fortunate to have him as the agent, because he was that detailed and really knew everything that was going on and had great relationships with the teams in the NFL. So I did not know that until I saw the 30 for 30 myself.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was incredible. John, I mean, you had an absolute cannon for an arm, right? You would just send it. And when I played hockey, I passed the puck as hard as I could. And some coaches be like, hey, you're passing the puck too hard. I'd be like, you can't give a good player a bad pass. Was there ever a coach that said, hey, John, maybe thread the needle here, don't just send it in? And you're like, buddy, this is how I play the game.
Yeah, I heard that every year. You're throwing the ball too hard. And it's like, as my career, as I got older, I got better with some touch. I mean, the hardest thing for me to throw was a screen pass, especially if I had to go over somebody. But that's kind of just the way I played the game. And I always felt the quicker I get the ball to the wide out or the tight end, the quicker he's going to be able to get his head around and prepare himself for a hit. So therefore, if I could put it on him now to be a little bit more accurate. When it's harder, you got to be a little bit more accurate. But I always felt, heck, I'm trying to take care of you too. So if I get it to you, the quickest I can get it to you, the quickest you're going to have time to turn it up and see what's coming.
Johnny,
that's what I thought about hockey passes too. Get it to me as quick as you can. It gives me a half a second to make a play.
Yeah, I look back at some of the older D-men that I looked up to, like the Jovos and stuff like that, and you would feel it on your hands every time you'd stop a puck. You're like, fuck. You never feel that, and you should feel that when you make it to the pros. Like you do things hard, you do it right, and you train the way you want to play. Johnny, like the evolution of your sport and football, and you as a player and a Hall of Famer into a GM, and watching, the way these players now play the game. and how they protect quarterbacks. I'm watching, I watch your 30 for 30 and the highlights of you boys back then, and you guys used to take hits harder than, a running back gets smoked nowadays. And, what do you think? Like, could they have done it back then? Like, we look at hockey guys and the way the game's change and they protect the players, and a lot of the shots get called now, but do you like the way they protect the guys? And it's nice to see the star players in there, but still it's nice to just run someone as hard as you can in a big game.
No, there's no question. That was kind of part of it back in the day. That was part of it. You get the other quarterback out, you got a better chance to win, right? So that was kind of a mentality of, with the game, it was a physical game and tough game with big, fast guys, and they're getting bigger and faster all the time. But I think that, especially with the way the country is going with, the brain stuff, the concussions, I think they had to make some changes. And I think they've done a heck of a job taking unnecessary big hits out of the game.
Yeah.
Because there's some of those blindside shots, that don't need to be in the game. I think the NFL has done a good job taking it out. Now, I think they've gone a little bit too far, in my opinion, because I think it puts too much on the referees. So many times I can't stand it as quarterback. If a guy goes to block a pass and his arms come down, which they have to, and then you hit a guy in the helmet, and then it's a penalty. To me, I look at that and I go, well, how many, and I was on the competition committee for about 5 years. My question always was, well, how many concussions have we had of quarterbacks getting hit in the helmet with a hand, right? So,
yeah,
I think it's gone a little bit too far. And again, it puts it more back into the referee's hands and control of the game, which I don't like either. I like it to be decided by the players, not by the referees. So it just brings that much more in, and I think there's more inconsistency with it. Now, with that being said, the league did it because they want the stars upright, and the networks want the stars upright because they paid a lot of money for the rights to broadcast these games, and so therefore, there's a business aspect to it too, which I think is the biggest reason why we've gone a little bit too far. But for the most part, the game is safer. It's still a very brutal, tough football game, game that. Guys in it are tough. You have to be tough to play it. But, sure, do I wish now sitting there after I get up out of this chair and take like 2 minutes to stand up straight? I wish they'd had those rules back in my day. But I wouldn't have changed how we played the game back when I said, would you rather play now? And I said, no. I was lucky to get to play back then. I was lucky to get to play with the guys I got to play with, and you make lifetime friends and to be able to win the championships. And they say, well, what the money's so much bigger now. I said, well, yeah, I heard the same thing back when I was getting paid from the older guys, right?
Yeah,
so, that's just, that's the way the game keeps growing, and good for them that they're continuing to make that kind of money.
That's so true, because my uncle played in the NHL in the 70s, and when I made it, he's like, they're giving you how much to play hockey? I'm like, come on, Uncle, I think we deserve it. But
oh, yeah.
Johnny, I want to ask you just on the fact of how tough it was when you played, put you on the spot here a little bit, but who was the scariest guy when you show up to the field on Sunday and you're playing whoever, you're like, for me, it was a guy like Derek Bugard or someone. Like, was there one guy you looked at, you're like, no, not today. Like, this guy's going to be all over me.
Yeah. I mean, there's, Bruce Smith with the Bills, Junior Seau. The thing about Junior Seau is he was a great, great player, was everywhere. And, as a quarterback, you like people being where they're supposed to be, whether it's coverage or then where everybody's supposed to be. And so if you can't see him, but there's a guy there. With Junior, he'd be dropping when he was supposed to be rushing, and he'd be rushing what he was supposed to be dropping. And so he's the most unpredictable, which made him, to me, one of the hardest guys to play against. And so, but I always say this too, is that, they're always, everybody talks shit. There's a lot in every sport, right? And every guy was always going to say, Elway, I'm going to come get you. I go, I know you are. I heard that last week, and I'll be right here. You got to get through these 5 first, and then you'll get a chance to get to me. But you'll know where I'll be. But I think that, and everyone I get asked a lot too is, who hit you the hardest, right? And I always say the damn ground, because when he landed on top, at least when you got hit, you could give, and learn how to fall. As a quarterback, to stay healthy, you got to learn how to fall and not fight those big dudes. Just let them take them where they're going to take you. But when you hit the ground and they land on top of you, that to me was, whenever I got the wind knocked out of me, it was because they landed on top of me. And as you guys know, it doesn't matter how many times you get the wind knocked out of you, you never think you're going to breathe again.
Oh, it's the worst, isn't it? It's the worst.
Well said, John.
And then you can't get nothing, and you're just sitting there trying to just say, let me breathe. But the ground was so hard when those guys landed on you.
Hey, Johnny, you said about the biggest thing for quarterbacks is guys being in the right position, and you were a hell of a baseball player, and it's a hard thing to do to hit a round ball with a round bat. But in my opinion, I think being an NFL quarterback is the hardest position, and the reason I think that is you see these guys come out of college that are like high picks, and they can't even play in the NFL. Like, do you think the quarterback, not just because you played it, but do you think it may be the toughest position in sports?
I do. I think and number one, because of the expectations. The expectations are always so high. And the way the game, as we know now, as we've been talking about, the game is so quarterback centric in the fact that because everybody's throwing the ball a lot more, not necessarily downfield, but outside and throwing the football a lot more. So the game's changed. So that puts the pressure on the quarterback. I think what's really difficult is these young guys come out and they're a top 5 pick, if they're the first, third, fourth pick, or even the top 10 pick, the expectations of those kids coming in are so high. And I think it takes time. I think if you look at the Packers and what they've done with Jordan Love, what they did with Aaron Rodgers, sat him on the bench for 3 years, and then you kind of give them a chance to get acclimated to the NFL game and understand what it's all about. So I think they've done a tremendous job. But I just think it's so hard for these young guys. The expectations are so high. They make a lot of money, which raises the expectations. But when those guys go to high picks, they're usually going to bad football teams. And, for a young quarterback, to me, the most important thing is that offensive coordinator that gets him in the best position to be successful, doesn't try to put too much on him in the first couple of years, stay within what he can do. And it's, but then those coaches have a tough time too, because they got to win. And, there's a lot of quick triggers in the NFL when it comes to firing coaches these days. So the pressure's on everybody. And so, that's just the hard thing for these young guys is getting acclimated to the NFL, learning the game, the expectations of the media and what they do. Because I always felt, when you're in college, you're still an amateur athlete. You're still a kid. So the expectations aren't nearly as high. But as soon as they start paying you money and you're a high pick in the NFL, the expectations just grow, exponentially to where, I think it's more the kids are all talented. I just think that eventually they lose their confidence if they keep getting beat down. And plus those kids have usually had a lot of success coming out of high school, coming out of college. If you're a high pick, they've had a lot of success. And so it's tough mentally for a lot of them to handle. And I think that's why we see the miss rate that we see, what is it, 50% just in the first round, not even first round quarterbacks, but first round players in the NFL of who make it.
That's crazy.
Johnny, you've been to five Super Bowls, so you know what the pressure's like. A lot of noise around there. We've never been to Stanley Cup Finals, but we understand.
Not as players, but we went there just to party. We went to the party.
Yeah, we're part of the noise. we're part of the noise.
I've been to many of those Super Bowl parties too.
Yeah, we're the distractions now.
But before we dive into maybe these two teams left, and one team's been there a bunch, and for reasons that we know of, but Las Vegas and hosting their first Super Bowl. Could you imagine back in the day, like just all the madness going on in Vegas? I know who your friends are, so I know they like Las Vegas, but what are these guys in for? And maybe just, I know you won your last season playing in Miami, and I'm sure that was fun because Miami's a good place, but just talk about maybe Las Vegas and hosting this Super Bowl and just what that excitement's going to be like.
And I've always said this, is that when you look at it as a player, that's one of the hardest games to play in because everything, you get a routine, right? Everybody has a routine. And so you get into routine. And so it's like a bye week. And so really, I think why we were able to win the last two is Mike Shanahan had been to a Super Bowl, seen how to win one, how they went about it. He worked for George Seifert in San Francisco, I think, when they beat the Chargers back in '94. So Mike had seen how it worked. And I think the way he did things is, you take care of all your family business the first week before you leave, because you usually don't leave to go to the site until a week before the game. And so you get all the family stuff, all the tickets, all the requests, all that stuff done before you get to the site. And then I think, as players, you'll get in there, maybe go out the first night when you get there, have a little bit of fun on Sunday or Monday night. But then after that, it goes strictly to football. And so I've always said, everybody else except the teams have a great time at the Super Bowl because they're, the teams are going there to work. It's so hard to get there. And that's why it becomes such the priority is that, we'll go to other Super Bowls as fans. Let's work our ass off and do what we do and do everything we can to win this football game, because it's also the ultimate loss. It's the ultimate win, but it's also the ultimate loss. And so that's why, having lost 3, and then I waited like 8 years before we got back to 1, and we were able to win that, Super Bowl 32 against the Packers. And I remember running on the field. There's 5 minutes to go. Actually, before that week, I said, God, can you please have us in this game in the fourth quarter? Because we were never in the game in the other 3 Super Bowls in the fourth quarter. So I was like, can we please just be in the game in the fourth quarter? And, the Packers were defending champs. They were a great football team. And so I remember running on the field with 5 minutes to go and say, thank you, Lord, for the chance. Now we got to go make it happen. We're fortunately able to get it done and made it the best win ever.
That's an unbelievable story. Speaking about getting it done, John, Patrick Mahomes, I had a big futures bet that I had the Ravens and Niners to make it to the Super Bowl, and I would have won a good chunk of change for me. And I had a bad feeling about Patty, but from a guy who's got the gold jacket, like this guy, man, he's just a winner, and he's just like, what do you see from your seat when you watch him?
I think that we all see what an athlete he is, and the thing I like about Patrick Mahomes is that he's not afraid of anything, and he's a great decision maker, and he's not afraid of anything. And I think that's what you see. Guys that don't have a lot of experience in playoff games, like Baltimore hadn't been to a championship game for a long, long time. I don't think they played their best football game. But if you looked at what Kansas City's done the last 2 weeks, they weren't playing very good football at the end of the year.
No.
And all of a sudden they got it turned around. They were struggling on the offensive side. But I think that their mentality, and I think Patrick's mentality, they get into those big games, and I think that's the difference maker between great quarterbacks, good quarterbacks, and quarterbacks that go to the Hall of Fame is they play big in big games. And Patrick has just, the last 2 weeks, he's been unbelievable. I still don't. My big question, because I like Baltimore last week too, because I'm not a Chiefs fan, just because they're in our division.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know. I don't know how Kelsey has 12 catches when
I know
that's the guy he's going to, and I'm just like, in shock. And he had like 7 catches in the first half, and I'm like, oh my God, this is not going to go well. So, but but Patrick is just he's one of a kind, and I'm sure he'll stay healthy because he takes care of himself, but he's going to be a great one for a long, long time.
I just got to, have you ever, because in hockey, John, if we were in the second half and we were playing bad, we'd be like, boys, you can't just turn it on, you can't turn it off. Like, we're not just going to start the game on the playoffs.
It's not a light switch.
Yeah. Have you ever played for a team where you stumbled in and then you got it? Because that's the biggest thing to me. Like, I watched the Chiefs play a lot because my girl's from Kansas City or Kansas, and they weren't playing well, then boom, they just turned it on, John.
Yeah. And and then you can look at, they can turn it on because, what was that? There was their 6th conference championship in a row, right? Which is unheard of. And so I think those guys, especially when you're, defending world champs, did they win? I can't remember if they won it last year or not, but
yeah, they did.
That's what I thought. Yeah. And so, but as defending world champions, I think they have that mentality of that once they get to the playoffs, they know they're going to play well in the playoffs. And so it is hard to flip that switch. We got in as a wild card in 98, and we had Miami at home, but then we had to go on the road with 2 Kansas City and then 2 Pittsburgh. And the funny story about that, we're going to Kansas City, and I was talking to Brett Hull. And so we're talking, I said, well, you want to come to the game? He goes, sure. I said, all right. So he comes to the game, got him on the sideline. It was him and Mark Wiebe, who was the PGA pro from a long time ago. And so we go to Kansas City. Brett's on the sideline. He said he was never so scared in his life because they're running at him so fast every time they came to the sideline. And so we ended up beating Kansas City in Kansas City. I said, well, dude, you got to come to Pittsburgh now because we won this one on the road. I said, you got to come to Pittsburgh now. So he ended up coming to Pittsburgh too. And so that's my great Hully story, and the fact that he was there for both those wins.
He's
a glue guy.
Hully's one of a kind. Yeah, he wasn't moving too fast, but boy was he efficient out there. What should we Should we
Yeah,
fire
I guess
people
I guess I
out
want one last thing on the Super Bowl here while we got you, John. We'll put you on the spot a little bit here. I know you're an ex-Bronco and you don't like the Chiefs because of the AFC West, but who do you like going in if you had to pick a team, or if you are going to pick a team, who do you like?
It's I looked at the line yesterday. I think San Fran's a 1-point favorite or something like that. I'm not sure. It's hard. The Niners came back, obviously charged back that second half. I'm really happy for John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. I think they're both great. They're great people. So I was rooting for them. I still couldn't figure out why Detroit didn't kick those field goals in the second half, just to kind of get some distance and change some momentum. And because even, and that's the other thing about what drives me crazy in the NFL is they're all going for it on fourth down. I don't get the analytics of it. I'm sure that there's numbers that prove that, but analytics don't have any emotion to them. And as you know, in hockey and football, there's so much emotion involved in the game and how the game's going. And I really think it'd have been a different outcome if he'd kicked those field goals. At least they're adding points to the lead. And I think all that did is add fuel when they didn't get them. But I was glad to see the Niners come back. But with that being said, I'm rooting for the Niners. I think it's going to be a really good game. I don't think the Niners are playing as good on defense as they were in the middle of the year. So I think they've struggled a little bit on the defensive side. Brock Purdy showed what he's made of in the second half last week. And so, he's got everything they can do. So it's just hard with Kansas City playing as well as Kansas City's playing. It's hard to bet against them.
With Andy Reid, right?
Yeah.
Andy Reid, yeah.
The Niners D hasn't played as well as they have all year. That scares me a bit, like they might bring it for the Super Bowl. But it's going to be a great game. John, last one for me, buddy. In '96, the Colorado Avalanche moved to the Mile High City, the old barn they played in there. They come there, they win a Stanley Cup their first year. Were you kind of like, what's going on here, fellas? Like, you just got to town, or who did you hang out with? Did you go to any of the games, or how was that for you when they won it?
I actually, and I wasn't a huge hockey fan, but I ended up, I had season tickets, and so got to a lot of games, and we learned a lot about hockey and loved going to it. And I think that I always say this: the Avalanche broke the seal for Denver.
Yeah,
right. Because we never had a world championship, and so I was like glad that they came to town, broke that seal, and we're looking at that. And I think it added an incentive for us too, to saying, hey, you know what, we can't get that done, and so. Then we end up winning, I don't know, 3 or 4 years later. And so, but I always say, it was great to have them to town. And, they were so fun to watch with Sakic and Forsberg and Patrick Waugh, and Lemieux, and played golf with those guys a couple of times. And so they were great guys. And it was really fun to watch, and really fun to watch the rivalry between them and Detroit. And I know that probably came on as time, but those things were slugfest every time. You didn't want to miss a Red Wing game when they're in town, that's for sure.
Yeah, you don't see that much very often, Johnny. Just like your old school football, then it was wild days. But listen, Johnny, for the people that know you out there as a Hall of Fame quarterback, buddy, you're more of a Hall of Fame guy. You're a great guy to hang with, to golf with. We appreciate you coming on Missin Curfew. I just wanted to throw out this last thing. Our boy Kelly Chase is in a fucking fight, and we're thinking about him. A lot of Kelly Chase fans on our podcast, but anything you want to maybe touch on with our boy?
I mean, Kelly Chase is one of those, he's one of a kind, as you know, and so I think that, and he's in the middle of a hell of a battle, but I know that if anybody's going to beat this thing, Kelly will beat it. And as you know, he's got so many friends and so many people that care about him that we're all praying for him, knowing that he's going to get through this thing, and his mindset will get it through him, because he's a fighter, and as we all know, a good fighter. And so therefore he'll get through this thing, and thoughts and prayers are always with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Johnny, we appreciate you coming on, man. You're the man.
My pleasure. It's great talking to you guys.